Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Blake Creamer, and I will be your host today. In this podcast, I'm going to give you all the best streamers and ad options for next week so you can optimize your rosters and crush your league mates to bits. All right, let's get to bid. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Creamer. Please follow me on Twitter /X at Blake Creamer AG. Also, Apples and Genos has a Discord. If you didn't know, now you know, and you got to click the link in the description. You do that, you get in there with over 1,000 amazing fantasy hockey managers. Love our listeners, love our Discord members. So thank you for your service. So get your biscuits in there. Also, Apples and Genos has a YouTube channel. So definitely head on over there, search Apples and Genos, give us a subscribe, give us a like, comment on the stuff. Oh, man, you can really help us out. All right. You may be wondering, where is Nate Groot Niblink? All right. And I'm here to tell you that man is taking a sabbatical. All right. He's actually rented a hot air balloon. And he's currently traveling around the world. Just a very interesting man. He's, he does a lot of crazy stuff. He's very eclectic and, he grinds his own beans. All right. But you didn't hear it from me. All right. And he could be back on Sunday. So I don't know, but for now you're with me and we're getting to biz. But before we do that, before we get into week 14 and all the ads and drops and everything else, we got to talk about some newsies. Okay. So let's get to business on that. All right. First off, we got to talk about some injuries that happened here on Friday night. I'm recording Friday night. This is going to be released on Saturday morning. But yeah, Friday's game, some crazy crap happened. Well, we got to talk about Jack Hughes leaving the game early, left with about 3 minutes left with an undisclosed injury. No word on what that injury was. Lindy Ruff gave an amazing update post-game, left the game, and wasn't able to come back. All right, that's a great update there. The Devils play again tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. We should definitely know more in the morning here on Saturday. Also, with the Devils, there's no timetable on Timo Meier or Andre Palat as well either. So basically, this is a no update. That's how we do here. All right, we're just giving you the information. All right. Also, Connor Bedard, he got smoked by Brendan Smith, that meathead, that lug nut, during the game here, and wasn't able to finish the game on Friday. So there's no update as to what he's dealing with. But after the hit, he did hold onto his jaw as he was skating off. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not a fracture or anything like that, because that would keep him out for some time. So keep an eye out for an update there. Also, Nick Foligno got into a fight with Brendan Smith. That's nice, but then he couldn't finish the game either for whatever reason for the Hawks. So they've got a couple injuries to their top line, and things could get real bad real quick in Chicago. I mean, even worse than they are, right? It's showing no good. So, yeah, I mean, all the best to Bedard. I hope he gets back nice and quick because this guy's amazing. He's great for the league and love watching him play. So there you go. We got to talk about the Zucchini Man. Oh, Matt Zuccarello. Yeah, he's been activated off of injured reserve, and he should be good to go for the Wild's next game, which is Saturday. Huzzah! This is great news for the Minnesota Wild, who are hurting right now without Kaprizov, without Spurgeon, without Philip Gustafson. They got a lot of injury issues there, so they're getting some reinforcements back. Zuccarello, that 36-year-old wunderkind, he's coming back and he's ready to rock. So he's going to be back on, in his top 6, top power play role. So we got to keep an eye out for the Minnesota Wild's lines and power play lines as well here on Saturday morning. So definitely check that out. But we'll talk about that a little later. Right, we got to talk about Bo Byram as well, is on the injured reserve. He's been put on the injured reserve. He's going to be out for at least a week, so he won't be able to help us out much here in week 14. That definitely will equal a little bit more, a little bit of a fantasy boost for Sam Girard, Devin Taves. Obviously, they're going to get a little bit more burn with Byram out of the picture. And that beauty, Josh Manson. I'm just in a happy mood, so I'm going to just compliment everybody. Let's move on. We got to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes Friday's game as well. Martin Necas didn't make it out. Yeah, he missed the game with an undisclosed injury. Stefan Nason as well was out with an illness. So just keep an eye. We got to, this was Necas' first game out, so we got to see what's going on there. But they got Svech. It doesn't matter. All right, Svech is popping the hell off right now. Love it. Over to Vegas. We got to talk about Aiden Hill. He could be back playing next week. So this guy could be an option for us. That's amazing. I think when both goalies are healthy, Hill and Thompson, I believe that Vegas is going to prioritize Hill a little bit more. I don't think it's a strict timeshare there. And Hill has had the better numbers this season as well. That said, he's coming off injury. So, they might ease him back in. But yeah, fire up your Aiden Hill. It's good stuff over there. Vegas could use him. They're in a little mini slump there. So I think they could use some help from Hill. Also, let's move on to the Florida Panthers. Some news that directly affects me and my fantasy team. So it's obviously the most important. Alexander Barkov. Oh, no. Evan Rodriguez. Yeah. There was supposed to be an update as to what is going on with those two players today, which is Friday, but they canceled their practice. So we're going to have to wait until Saturday to get an update on both those players. Barkov in particular, he took an errant elbow from Alec Martinez, didn't finish the game. It didn't look that bad to me. So I don't know. Maybe it's concussion stuff. Like I'm trying to extrapolate what it could be. I mean, it didn't look hard enough to break a jaw or fracture anything. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it's good news because, yeah, losing Barkov for any significant period of time would suck for fantasy, would obviously suck for the Florida Panthers. This guy's amazing this season. He's crushing. So there you go. In his stead, Sam Bennett Dyson. He's taking his spot on power play 1, and they got a makeshift line there with Eetu Luostarinen and Anton Lundell and the Sex Panthers, Sammy Reinhart. So, we'll see what happens over there. Let's move on to the Anaheim Ducks. Troy Terry took part in an optional skate before Friday's game, so that's a good sign, but he's not eligible to come off of the IR until January 7th. So, but I think it's a good sign. If he's skating right now, that means he might be good to go once he is activated off of IR there. So that's great. And then lastly, Miro, the hero, Heiskanen for the Dallas Stars. He's been labeled week to week by head coach Pete DeBoer. That sucks. Coach DeBoer said the injury is not terrible or season ending, and it's not going to require surgery. So that's good news, but week to week is not good news. So we're going to have to look for alternatives there. We are going to talk about the Stars a little bit this episode. They got a good schedule. So I'll talk about some alternatives there and who you need to add and what we need to do. Okay. But that's it for the newsies. Let's get to biz on week 14 and what this schedule looks like. All right. First thing, on Monday, there are 4 games. Tuesday, we've got 10 games. Wednesday, there's 3 games. Thursday, 13 games. Friday, 2 games. Saturday's your beefer with 16 games. And then Sunday, there's 2 games. So, yeah, of note, I mean, to me, that Tuesday, the 10-game Tuesday, we should be able to get some players in there, hopefully. Definitely a defenseman, maybe a goalie. Just one thing I like to say is, at the beginning of the week, you got to set your roster, start all active players, and see who the players are that are not making the cut on those busy days, right? Or see where you have gaps. And then we can plug those gaps like efficiently, right? With the players that we're going to talk about. But the players that don't make the cut, those guys are your streamers, right? All right. So 50 total games in week 14. That's a light week. Especially, with those Fridays and Sundays there, the 2-game weeks. That's where you're getting the light week. There are 2 teams with the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back to open the week. So that's kind of a nice feature because that Tuesday, like I said, I think you might be able to get players in. It's the Boston Bruins and the Vancouver Canucks. So you can definitely start your week out that way. That wouldn't be too shabby. There are also 4 teams with Monday, Wednesday off nights. So that's, again, a really nice way to start the week as well. And those teams are the Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Colorado Avalanche. They all have Monday, Wednesday. That's really nice. There are also 3 teams that have Wednesday, Friday, and they are the Dallas Stars, the Minnesota Wild, and the Philadelphia Flyers. So that's a really nice start. Monday, Wednesday, Friday start to the week. There are 3 teams that have that. So we're going to be talking about these teams, but those are your go-to teams in terms of picking up players for your streaming. Unfortunately, there's no teams that have the Friday, Sunday off nights. So yeah, you're going to have to maybe do a 1-day stream or something on the Sunday, but we'll talk about that. So in terms of strategy or what you want to do this week, the best plan to me is just grab a Dallas, a Minnesota, or a Philadelphia streamer and just hold them till Friday. And then, so let's say you have, the leagues that I'm in, they usually have about 4 moves. So I like to have 2 streamer spots. That's sort of what I, account for. I have 2 streamer spots that I like to have open all the time. So if you have 2 streamer spots, I would add 1 player from these teams in both those spots. So that's 2 moves, and you're going to get all those games from those players, right? So it's 2 moves and basically 6 games. I love that. Then you have 2 more moves, which you can use for injuries that come up. You can use for if a must-add player is dropped in your league, you need to add him. Or goalie streams, like, you can start stat hunting a little bit if you're in a category league, or you could just try and stream a player in on the Sunday, which is that 2-game day. So yeah, I think it's fairly, this is kind of a standard week. It's not great for streaming. Like, there's not a ton of strategy you can do here, right? The good thing is all 3 of these teams, Dallas, Minnesota, and Philly, have some reasonable streamers. So you will have some options. I would think too, like, and Nate and I say this all the time, but if you have your matchup locked up, like if it's squared up, it's in the bag, or if you're going to lose it right now and you still have some moves, I would start prepping for week 14, right? Start adding some of these players right now to your team if you can. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking to do. That's how we get from A to B. Those are our strategies there. So first thing, we're going to talk about the worst teams to stream and drop players from. Okay, let's do it. All right. There are 3 teams that have 2 games and 0 off nights. So these are teams you're looking to probably drop some fringe players from here. Carolina Hurricanes, Columbus Blue Jackets, and the New Jersey Devils. So let's look at some of these players here. All right. So for the Carolina Hurricanes, some of the fringe players: Seth Jarvis, Jacob Slavin, Maven, Toivo Teravainen, and the Bunt Cake, Michael Bunting. Those are all players that are on the bubble, right? So let's dive in a little bit there and kind of see what we're looking at. Of those players, to me, I think I'm trying to hold Jarvis, right? I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, Jarvis is getting power play 1. He's kind of moved down the lineup a little bit, but last 5 games, he's got 4 points. His deployment's still strong, just under 20 minutes. And he's doing stuff out there. Like, he's in the last 5 games, he's 44th in the league in shots on goal per 60. That's really nice to see, right? That's not someone you just drop willy-nilly. Okay. His shooting percentage is a little high. Last 5 games, 17.7%. He's high on his on-ice shooting percentage as well, which is 18%. But I mean, this guy's on a 59-point pace for the season. I think he has a little bit of room to grow there, but Svechnikov coming back, yeah, that's just sort of changed the makeup of the team there. So, but I love that Jarvis is still getting that power play 1 time. So if I can, I'm trying to hold Seth Jarvis. He does other things as well, like in category leagues, he's good at hitting. So yeah, take it for what it's worth. Jarvis is probably the one I'm looking at holding there. I mean, Slavin, no, I think he can be a drop. Toivo Teravainen, I'm not holding through a 2-game week. He did have a nice little stretch there, but he's cooled off significantly. I mean, 0 points in the last 5 games and truly terrible metrics. Like, he's kind of back to the Teravainen we saw last year. Last 5 games, 353rd in shots on goal per 60. That show ain't no good, buddy. Put the puck on the net, all right? My mom says it all the time. We're watching games. She said, they need to shoot more. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, they do need to shoot more. What the hell? Especially Toivo. All right, buddy, you got to shoot the puck. But anyways, yeah, like just metrics like that across the board. He's not doing anything. So yeah, Toivo Teravainen, Michael Bunting as well. I mean, Bunting's on the second line, and he is getting power play 1. But, the metrics are not great either. So he's got 3 points in the last 5, but the deployment is not great. He's under 14 minutes. He's 48th overall in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 during that time. That's nice. I like to see that. But, his 2 goals, he's shooting 22.2% in the last 5. Like, on-ice shooting percentage is redlining at 20.5%. Just not a player I'm excited about. He is getting power play 1, but I'm still not holding him in a 2-game week. So that's my 2 cents there on the bunt cake. All right, let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay. Some more interesting players here that we're looking at, fringe players, bubble players. And the first one we got to talk about is John Gaudreau. All right. So he's on the list. Adam Fantilli, Fanta. What are we doing with him? My goodness. Ivan Provorov and Kirill the Thrill Marchenko. Those are players that, might not make the cut. So in terms of Columbus, they play Tuesday and Saturday. I did forget to mention Carolina plays Thursday and Saturday. So again, all busy nights. Columbus does have the Tuesday, so you might be able to get a player in for that game on Tuesday. So maybe you hold them until then and then you drop them if you're looking at dropping a Columbus player. But let's dig into some of these players. So John Gaudreau, we got to talk about him. To me, it's a soft hold. Like, it's a hold out of respect, basically, out of, what he's accomplished in the past. Because this season, it's been rough going there in Columbus, as we all know. But Gaudreau, what is he on here? He's on like a 51-point pace. Jeez, this sucks. I mean, these guys were elite. Like, he reminds me, Huberdeau, Gaudreau, even Matt Tkachuk this season. Like, there's just some weird stuff going on. But John Gaudreau, 51-point pace. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you look at the numbers, it kind of does. So last 5 games, he's got 3 points. So that's nice. Deployment's reasonable, but 308th in shots on goal per 60, 344th in individual Corsi for, and then 370th in individual scoring chances for. So that's not going to cut it, John. So it's a soft hold. I would look to drop someone else before dropping Gaudreau, but if you drop them, I'm not going to fault you for that. It makes total sense. The player I like a little bit more than Gaudreau right now is Adam Fantilli. That's the player from Columbus that if I'm going to try and hold, I'm looking to hold Fantilli because I think this is a player that's he's trending in the right direction. First off, like he's shooting the lights out. Like I love this about Fantilli. He had a 5-shot game a couple games ago, 2 shots the other night, but over 20 minutes time on ice, and he's on power play 1. I think, they might be at the point of the season where they're like, well, let's see what you can do, kid. And, Nate and I have talked about Fantilli a lot this season. Like, this guy's a real player. He's going to be a star in this league, maybe as soon as next year. So I'm willing to take a shot and hold with Fantilli there. That's a player I'm interested in keeping, right? Especially if he's getting the 20-minute treatment. Moving down the lineup, Ivan Provorov, no. Worst haircut in the league. Get the hell out of my sight. I think we can drop him. The reason Provorov was rostered is because people thought he was going to be taking power play 1 there with Zach Werenski out, and it looks like Damon Severson is getting reps there at the moment. So he's not a hold either, in my opinion. So Provorov, no. In a category league, maybe you're holding on to Provorov, but I don't think there's anything really keeping Provorov on your roster. And then Marchenko as well. This is a rough one. Marchenko's had a really rough stretch here. Obviously, he's had, bits and pieces throughout the season. But 0 points in his last 5 games. Deployment's down. He's 15.5 minutes time on ice. Numbers are okay. They're better than some of the numbers we've been talking about here, but 138th in shots and goal per 60, 113th in individual Corsi for per 60, and then a shocking 310th in individual scoring chances for per 60 over the last 5. So the shine's off of Kirill Marchenko. He's definitely going through a little bit of a slump. It's just, I'm not holding him through a 2-game week, period. I think that's reasonable. So he's definitely a player I'm still interested in though, but not for this week. All right. Sorry. I got to drink some water here. I'm doing this live. We're doing it live. So you might hear me sipping a little bit of water, and that's fine. And if you're on YouTube, you can watch me sip water. It's like a weird ASMR. I don't know where I'm going with this. No one wants to hear a man drink a glass of water. Let's agree on that. I digressed. All right, let's move on. New Jersey Devils is the other team with only 2 games. And we got to talk about some of their players. We got to talk about what do we do with Luke Hughes? What do we do with Timo Meier? Dawson Mercer is out there. Eric Holla. So, these are, I think, could be considered fringe players. Luke Hughes, to me, no. I'm not dropping Luke Hughes. If it's a real shallow league, like 8 or 10, even maybe 10. I don't know, but it would dropping Luke Hughes would always depend on who the ad is, right? It would have to be someone that's kind of a rest of season person, because to me, Luke Hughes is a rest of season player. His metrics have been reasonable this year. He's also on a bit of a heater. Like last 5 games, he got 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. Amongst defensemen, he's 57th overall in shots on goal per 60, 13th overall in individual Corsi 4 per 60, and 2nd overall in individual scoring chances 4 per 60. That's excellent, right? And he looks good out there too. And the Devils' power play is awesome, and he's the quarterback. Enough said. I think we're holding Luke Hughes through a 2-game week here. It makes sense to me. Like I said, if it's an 8-teamer or a 10-teamer, maybe you could drop Luke Hughes, but it would always depend on the ad. For me personally, I'm holding on to Luke Hughes, and I'm holding on to Timo Meier. I mean, he's on the list here, but it's been a garbage season for Meier. There's no question. 44-point pace. He's just, it's not happening the way that people hoped it would happen. Like Timo Meier in the top 6 there in Jersey, getting the biz, getting all the power play stuff. He's going to get 50 goals, all this business. No. Nate and I were notoriously down on Meier, Nate especially, and I think that's absolutely correct. This is a guy that needed volume to really pop off, and he wasn't getting it with the Devils here. He was getting some reasonable deployment, but he's also he's a big-time shooter, right? And they have some big-time shooters, especially off the rush, in Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt on the New Jersey Devils. So there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? I mean, Meier might have to change his style of play if he's going to try and play with either of those guys, right? You need a line that complements each other, and Meier does a lot of what Jack Hughes does, just not as well, right? Plus, his hits and shots are down a bit just because he's not getting the ice time. So, been a frustrating season for Meier, but he's injured right now. You should have him in your IR plus spot. I wouldn't be dropping Timo Meier at all. So we're just talking about it, right? 2-game week. What do you do with it? You hold on and you hope for the best. That's kind of crappy, but there you go. Moving on to Dawson Mercer, though. This is a player, and this sounds weird because Meier's playing so stinky and he's injured. Dawson Mercer's playing great and he's not injured and he's getting deployed. It's awesome. Last 5 games, Dawson Mercer, 6 points, 4 goals and 2 assists, and he's averaging over 20 minutes time on ice, which is really nice. But metrics are middling. He is 97th overall in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. So he's getting it done. He's getting a look, but yeah, I'm not holding Dawson Mercer for a 2-game week. It's not an auto drop, that's for sure. But with Jack Hughes out now, Mercer could get bumped up the lineup. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting times there in Jersey, but Mercer, to me, I think I'm comfortable with dropping him. And then Eric Holla, absolutely, you can drop Eric Holla. All right, so those are the 3 teams there with 2 games played, 0 off nights. There are also 15 teams with 3 games and 0 off nights, but I'm not going to go into all those teams. Okay. All right, let's move over to the best teams to stream, or as Nate loves to call it, he's probably thinking about it right now in his hot air balloon, Cream's Dream Streams. Okay, we talked about the teams we're looking at, and they are the Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild, and the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's get into it. All those teams have an amazing schedule. They're all Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. That's a great schedule, right? You set it and forget it, basically. You pick up these players at the beginning of your week. You can hold them till the Friday. Then you can decide what to do, right? And my suggestion to you would be, if you have 2 streamer spots, pick up 2 right off the bat and just leave them. But here we go. All right, for Dallas, let's talk about Dallas Stars. We got guys like Tyler Seguin, who's really been popping off lately. Thomas Harley is going to be a really good option. We'll talk about that. Wyatt Johnston and Mason Marchment. Those are really your top guys for Dallas, and I want to get into this here a little bit. So the way I would probably prioritize this is, I think you got to go Seguin. His line has been really good. Seguin has been playing on that second unit there with Matt Duchene. Duchene? Was that Duchene again? It was Duchene. And Mason Marchment. That line has really been cooking. They're all on heaters currently. So let's dig into Tyler Seguin a bit here. Last 5 games, he's got 5 points, which is excellent. 3 goals, 2 assists. Metrics are great. That line is really cooking. So he's 30th overall in shots to goal per 60 in the league, 64th in individual Corsi for, and 38th in individual scoring chances for per 60. This is really nice stuff. The on-ice numbers are reasonable too. I mean, he's 80th overall in Corsi for per 60 and 21st overall in scoring chances for per 60. And that's just that just says a lot about what his line has been able to do, right? Seguin has been, he's been redlining a little bit with his shooting percentage. It's up at 18.8%. But yeah, I think Seguin's your guy. He's dual eligible center right wing, I believe. So I think that's the player you want to target the most on Dallas Stars. And then we got to talk about Thomas Harley, right? With Heiskanen out, this is your guy, right? This is going to be your power play one quarterback. He's been having a nice little season in his own right. Like if we look at what he's been able to do, on the season, he's on a 41-point pace, Thomas Harley, 9 goals, 8 assists. He's going to get double-digit goals, Thomas Harley. So really nice piece. And that was before power play one, which he is going to get here for probably a month. And, we'll see what happens during that time, right? This guy could really pop off. So I like that player a lot. He's been really good this season. So I think you got to prioritize those two players. Wyatt Johnston and Mason Marchment. I think I'd prioritize Marchment over Johnston just because Marchment is going right now. Like this he's got 8 points in his last 5, although his metrics are not, comparable really to Tyler Seguin. But 8 points in 5 games. He's on a heater. You got to like that. Wyatt Johnston, 3 points in 5 games, which is really nice. But interesting, he's 8th overall in the league in the last 5 games in individual scoring chances for per 60. That's pretty dang nice. And his, he's working with Jamie Benn and Yevgeny Dadonov. So really nice. Seguin, Marchment, and Wyatt Johnston are all on power play 2 at this point. And like I said, Thomas Harley is going to be up on the top units. So, I think Seguin and Harley are your 2 must adds. I mean, these guys should all be added for the week, but I'd probably go Seguin, Harley, Marchment, and then Wyatt Johnston. Book it. That's how we do. Let's move on. We'll talk about the Minnesota Wild, and these guys got some great streamers as well. And let's talk about them. Brock Faber. Yes, sir. Jared Spurge. He spurged everywhere, Jared Spurgeon. What are you doing? We're in public, my man. Yeah, Spurgeon's out again. So this is terrible news for him, but it just makes it so that Brock Faber goes back onto power play 1 and his role is absolutely secure. And I love Brock Faber, honestly. Like his metrics don't really show kind of what we want to see. And in the last 5 games, he hasn't really been doing the thing, right? 0 points in his last 5 games, but I love the deployment. I just love the deployment. And I like what I see from the player. And he was doing really well when he was getting that power play 1 time, the 30-minute treatment. And I just love the fact that the coach trusts him enough, this young player, to trot him out there for 30 minutes for multiple games. So I'm really into it. He's going to get power play 1. I picked up Faber in a couple spots already. And yeah, I'm excited about it. So let's move on to Ryan Hartman. He's also out there. Marco Rossi and Marcus Johansson, Nate's favorite player. So we got to talk about those players. And I did mention that the Zucchini man, Matt Zuccarello, is back. So we need to see who gets bumped off the top power play. But currently it was Johansson, Rossi were on the top power play, and Hartman was playing on power play 2. So my thoughts would be Johansson would be bounced down to power play 2, and Matty Zukes would take the top spot there. Marco Rossi's been a bit of a staple there on the top power play. So in terms of that, I'd probably go Faber, Rossi, Hartman, Johansson. That's how I would do the Minnesota streamers. And I'm excited that Matt Zuccarello is back. Like Minnesota is a team that I'm invested in a little bit here. I've got Kaprizov in a couple spots. You know how we feel about Matt Boldy here at Apples and Ginos. So I like the team, and I'm excited to get him back. And I think these guys are all viable. Even Marcus Johansson, right? Like I actually like the player. Obviously, he doesn't show out in any metrics. Like they're truly terrible. But he's on a 44-point pace. Yeah, none of these guys are really blowing the doors down. If we're looking at the best metrics for the Minnesota players, it's actually Ryan Hartman, but his deployment is probably the worst. So, take it for what it is. Like I said, I'm going Faber, Rossi, Hartman, Johansson. Book it. Okay, let's move on. Talk about Philly. They're quite the Philly. We got some great options here as well. So let's dig into the Philadelphia Flyers. All right. That's how I delay and segue while I get my proper screen up. How's it working, everybody? Feel good? All right. I'm very alone right now. I'm all by myself, and that's fine. Okay, let's talk about who we like on Philly. So we got players like Sean Couturier is out there, right? Joel Farabee, Scotty Too Hottie Lawton, and Cam Atkinson, who was recently a healthy scratch. So that's not awesome news. But it keeps going. We got Tyson Forster. We got Morgan Frost, the Tinkly Winkly Man, and Igor Zamula, one of the best names I've ever heard, the great Zamula. So let's talk about some of these players and what they're bringing to the table. So I think, Couturier definitely needs to be rostered this week. This guy's, he's their top line center. He's playing top power play as well. So top center, top power play. That's great. Unfortunately, the metrics aren't amazing for Sean Couturier, but he does have 3 points in the last 5 games. His individual numbers are nothing special. They're nothing terrible, but his on ice numbers are excellent. He is 63rd overall in Corsi 4/60 and 62nd in scoring chances 4/60. And he's shot 0% over the last 5 games. So, he's underachieving a little bit. I think some more goals are on the table here for Sean Couturier. He's having a decent season, 59-point pace. I like that. So I think, he's definitely got to be rostered for you here this week. And then Joel Farabee, a guy I talked about on the Cream of the Crop Sell High show. He's still doing the thing. He's got 7 points in 5 games. That's 1 goal and 6 assists. The metrics are reasonable. I mean, he's 132nd in shots on goal per 60. That's nice, but everything else kind of stinks over the last 5 here. His shooting percentage is pretty low as well, 8.3 over the last 5. So, I mean, there's room for more goals, but I don't know. I think that Farabee, to me, like, he's on a 63-point pace as well. So they're both great streamers for this week. I think Couturier is a guy who potentially I would hold the rest of the season. Farabee, no, I don't think. I think he's a streamer at best, but that's kind of where they're at right now. And then Cam Atkinson, he's been having a rough go here. I mean, being a healthy scratch by Torts, Tort's gonna tort. And Cam Atkinson was the healthy scratch. He was the casualty this time, but only 1 goal in his last 4 games, Cam Atkinson, but he's shooting really well. Like, he's 7th overall in the league during that time in shots and goal per 60, 32nd overall in individual Corsi 4/60, and 93rd in individual scoring chances 4/60. So, if that's ringing your bell, like, that's great. Like, he's kind of on the second line there, I think, and potentially power play 1, but I don't know. We have to see kind of where they line up here. So I'm not too excited about Cam Atkinson, but that's fine. But let's talk about Tyson Forster, Morgan Frost, and Zamula. All right, so Forster is currently on the 3rd line there, playing with Ryan Poling and Bobby Brink, the Brink truck. And then, I lost my train of thought. Oh, that's great podcasting right there. But Tyson Forster, like I said, Morgan Frost, and then who was scratched as well, and then Igor Zamula. Zamula is taking reps on power play 1. They're all over the shop there in Philly with their power play 1. Sometimes it's Cam York, sometimes it's Zamula. He's been going lately, but none of these guys are really ringing the bell here. Zamula actually has 2 goals in his last 5. That's reasonable, but the numbers are not great amongst defensemen. So it's not a player I'm super excited about. As I said, Morgan Frost took the healthy scratch. His numbers are not great, and Tyson Forster as well. So if it was up to me for this week, I'd probably go Couturier, Farabee, Scott Lawton, just because what he brings to the table, like in terms of periffs. Forster, Frost, and then Zamula. That's sort of the order I would take the Philadelphia Flyers in. All right. Cool. Let's move on. Let's talk about another team that has a reasonable schedule this week, and it's the New York Rangers. They play 2 games with 2. They play 4 games with 2 off nights. So let's look at what they do. They actually play Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's kind of your off nights are the Monday and Sunday. So it's an interesting streaming team because you pick up a player and you might not be able to use them, and you use them on the Monday, then you might not be able to use them again until the Sunday. So it's not the best option to me because you're not getting a lot of value. You're just sitting on a guy that might be on your bench the whole time. But that said, let's look at some of the players that they have there. Got to talk about Keandre Miller, that beefer with a beautiful haircut. Yeah, he's out there. He's not getting any power play time, but we know that he brings periffs. And he actually is great at even strength scoring. Like, he's got 4 points in the last 5 games. He's on a 37-point pace. Like, that's pretty good. He's got 7 goals. But his numbers are nothing special. He is 43rd amongst defensemen in individual scoring chances, 4/60. So that's nice. But yeah, I mean, you get what you get. You're not getting a player with really any power play time. Someone who I'm a bit more interested in is Alexis Lafreniere. He does have some reasonable deployment. He's playing on the second line, which is a great spot to be right now, with Vinny Tro for show and the breadman Artemi Panarin. That's a great spot to be. And Lafreniere is on power play 2 as well. So he gets a little time there. And Lafreniere, actually, he's going a little bit right now. He's got 5 points in the last 5 games. Just under 18 minutes average time on ice. 95th overall in shots on goal per 60. And he's 60th overall in individual scoring chances, 4/60. Those are nice numbers. And, his shooting percentage is a little bit low. He's only shooting 7.7% over the last 5. Excuse me. Got to get some water up in here. But yeah, so this is a player I'm actually quite interested in. If you're going to go with the New York Rangers streamer, this guy is the man that I would pick. And then you got Blake Wheeler as well, who is getting top line deployment. Not the minutes, but he's just out there with the top line. But he looks cooked to me. Like, he's not shooting. He's not really doing anything. And he's only averaging just over 13 minutes time on ice on a 33-point pace for the season. So Blake Wheeler, thank you for your service, but that's showing no good. I thought he might be a nice little sleeper this year. I didn't pick him up anywhere, but I thought because of the deployment, it would be decent, but it just hasn't really worked out that way. And that's fine. Like, the Rangers are playing great. So, who am I? Like, this guy's fitting into the team well, and he's doing what he needs to do. All right. That's the Rangers. Let's move on to the next team with a really good schedule. It's the Colorado Avalanche, and they have 3 games with 2 off nights. Let's take a look at what the Avs are doing. They do have the Monday, Wednesday start, so you can pick yourself up an Avs player. That's a really strong move right off the start, and then you can do whatever you like. You can, you can just move on to a Friday team, move on to Sunday team. You can stream in some goalies, whatever. So let's look at those players here on the Avalanche. So the first player we got to talk about, and this kind of came out of nowhere for me, is Jonathan Drouin. What the hell is this man doing? What's Jared Bednar doing? He's like, you know what? We're going to give Jonathan Drouin 20 minutes a night, time on ice. I don't even care. Let's go. And they're doing it. And he's actually had some output here. So last 5 games, Jonathan Drouin, check this, 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists. That's excellent. Just under 21 minutes average time on ice. That's amazing. I did not expect that to happen this season. So right now he's playing on top line with Ranto and McKinnon. And then he's playing on the top power play. So that's a really nice spot to be. The metrics are what they are. He's 210th overall in shots on goal per 60, 268th in individual scoring chances, 4/60. Like, that sounds right with Jonathan Drouin, but I mean, he's getting the job done, right? Although he is shooting 36.4% over the last 5 games. So that is definitely going to go down. But I think you have to add him at this point, especially when he has a good schedule with the 2 off nights. You add him at the beginning of the week, and then if he doesn't perform in those 2 games, you kick him to the curb. But it's a really nice streamer to me. I think he should be owned, especially for the beginning of the week. And let's see what he does if he's going to get this kind of deployment. That's excellent. All right. And I would normally say Bowen Byram, but he's probably going to be out for the week, so don't worry about that. The other streamers for Colorado we're looking at are just the guys that take up power play 2 here. So we're looking at Ross Colton, Ryan Johansson, Sam Girard. These are players that, you can stream in. That's totally fine. I mean, Colton has been a bit of a disappointment this season. Like, I know Nate and I have been talking about this guy, singing his praises for a while. Besides the fact that he doesn't, he's on Cameo, but he doesn't return an email. What are you doing, my guy? Come on. But I digress. All right. Ross Colton only has, he was just coming off injury. He's played 2 games back, 1 assist in 3 games, averaging 12 minutes. That's not great, right? And the numbers are not good. He's on a 38-point pace for the season. This is a guy I called for to get like, I think a 50-point season, but I really did think they were going to prioritize him a little bit, and that just hasn't happened. So that's fine. It's still a very valuable player. He's great in a banger league as well. So if that tickles your fancy, go pick up Ross Colton. You're also looking at Jojo Danza, Ryan Johansson. He's one of the casualties of Jonathan Drouin getting the top power play treatment. Johansson is playing with Valerie Nichushkin on the second line, so that's a great spot to be, but he's on power play 2 as well. 3 points in the last 5 games, truly terrible metrics. We don't even need to get into those. He's on a 32-point pace for the season. That's about what I expected from Rye Joe. So not a player I'm super excited about, but he's out there. And then Sam Girard coming back off the player assistant program. So very nice to see him back. He's seems like a beauty to me. Very candid with kind of what he was going through there in a recent interview. So I'd like to see that. Wish the best for the guy. But hopefully he gets, it gets a little bit of burn here with Bo Byram out, because Girard can do stuff too. He was very valuable kind of on the home stretch of the season last year when Colorado had that amazing schedule. So there you go. Those are your Colorado Avs. Okay. And lastly, we got to talk about 3 teams that play 4 games with only 1 off night. And they are the Boston Bruins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and your Vancouver Canucks. So let's get into it. We'll talk about Boston first. And there is a player that you probably should own, right? And it's Pavel Zacha. I know that Zacha he's been subpar this season, right? Like the guy's on a 53-point pace playing with David Pastrnak all season and top power play. So he's really not performing to the level that he needs to. And the proof is in the pudding. If you look at some of his metrics here, like last 5 games, only 1 goal. He is playing, 18 and a half minutes. But 276 in shots on goal per 60, 355th in individual Corsi for per 60, and 315th in individual scoring chances for per 60. So he's just not putting it together. This guy that doesn't generate a lot. He really relies heavily on his teammates, and even that's not working out great for him this season. Like 53-point pace, I would definitely expect a little bit more from Pavel Zacha this season. But he's out there, and he should definitely be owned in a 4-game week if it makes sense for your team, right? We also got to talk about Jake DeBrusk. DeBrusk is, he's in and out of fantasy lineups, like based on his deployment. And currently DeBrusk he's riding on the second line there with the Coiler, Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand. I mentioned Jake DeBrusk. I talked about him on the Sell High show as well. He's just, he doesn't do enough to hold, unfortunately. Like this is a guy that really shows out in the metrics that we like here usually, but it just hasn't been the case this season. And, he's on power play 2. He hasn't been able to make his way up to power play 1 really for extended periods of time this season. So it's not a player I'm super excited about, but he's out there. I'd probably take Charlie Coyle over him, to be honest, the Coiler. So he's out there as well. And JVR, James Van Riemsdyk as well. And then kind of a dark horse as well, Morgan Geekie. Like we gotta talk about this guy. He's playing line 1 right now. So he's centering Pavel Zacha and David Pastrnak, and he's also playing on the top power play. You could do a lot worse, right? Like this guy's 7% owned. So if we dig into Morgan Geekie a little bit, this guy's got 5 points in the last 5 games. Metrics are garbage, but I don't know. He's on a 45-point pace and he's trending in the right direction. So something to think about if you're in a real deep league. Morgan Geekie should be an option for you because of his deployment. All right. Now let's move on to the next team, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And as usual, their streamers are not great. We're looking at, line 2 or like middle 6 guys with power play 2. And we're looking at Maximus Domius, Tyler Bertuzzi, Matthew Nyes, and Liljegren, the defenseman there who's getting power play 2. So, none of these guys are really getting me stoked about picking them up. If I had to order them, I'd probably go Bertuzzi, Domi, Nyes, and Liljegren, just because Bertuzzi's access to JT and William Nylander on the second line there. And then Max Domi Domi's going a little bit right now. 4 assists in the last 5 games, but his deployment stinks. This guy's just over 12 minutes in the last 5 games. Metrics are okay. You know, he's 181st in shots on goal per 60, 111th in individual Corsi 4 per 60. So, you know, and he's on a 50-point pace, Max Domi. So that actually surprised me that he's on a 50-point pace. I thought Bertuzzi would be a little bit better, but yeah, he's only on a 37-point pace. So that said, I mean, none of these guys are getting me excited, but they're out there, right? If it makes sense for your team, you got to do it. Okay. And let's move on to the last team, which is the Vancouver Canucks. So again, this is a team similar to the Maple Leafs. Like all their best players are on power play 1 and on the top 2 lines, basically. So you can take a ride with Connor Garland. He's out there and he has been getting reps on power play 1 because they've been benching Big Koozies, bench Koozie. And yeah, that's been rough to take. Like Kuzmenko got benched, scratched for the 5th game this season. And it just really seems like his time in Vancouver is done. I don't think he's obviously in Tocchet's doghouse. He doesn't like what he sees from the player, but this guy can play. You know, he should be on a team. He's an NHLer. He shouldn't be sitting in the press box. So it doesn't make any sense that way. But I mean, I guess he's not fitting into what they're doing here. But, you know, Connor Garland is. This guy's got 5 points in 5 games. Metrics or whatever. But his line there, Teddy Bluger, Connor Garland, and Dakota Joshua, they're kicking ass. Like, they look really good. Like that's what you want to see from your third line. These guys go out and make stuff happen. You know, they got the only goal the other night in St. Louis when the Canucks were playing St. Louis. They just look good. They're always doing something out there. So I do like Garland. I mean, I've never picked him up once in a fantasy league. So you could take a ride with Garland. Ilya Mikheyev is out there as well. He is getting top 6 deployment. He usually plays with Pettersson, but you know, he's got probably the highest point ceiling for the players I'm going to mention here. He's on a 51-point pace as well, so that's nice. Pius Suter is out there as well, 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 5 games. But yeah, you're if you're getting Suter on your team, I mean, yeah, you know something I don't, or like maybe you know are like in Back to the Future 2. You went back and you got the Farmer's Almanac, and now you're like, yeah, I'll take Pius Suter in week 14 for my NHL fantasy team. If so, can you DM me and, you know, give me the straight goods? All right. Shout out to Back to the Future 2. Great movie. I saw it in the theater with my dad back in the day. And there's this scene in the movie where in the future, there's a movie theater and there's a holographic shark that comes out of the theater. And I remember even in the movie theater, I was like, oh my God. Like I thought like back in the 80s, you know, we thought holographs were cool. I don't know. And they are kind of cool. And there you go. I'm digressing, but shout out to Pius Suter. All right. I just keep saying his name, Pius. And then Sam Lafferty is out there as well, but I'm not going to talk too much on him. He's like a Swiss Army knife there for the Vancouver Canucks. They can play him up and down the lineup. So he's out there as well. I'm not going to talk too much on him. All right. That's it for your best teams and your worst teams. Now we got to talk about the best players to stream from those teams, ranked in order. I'm going to give you Nate's order here. I made an order for best players to add for the future. So I'll give you the Blake edition there, but these are Nate's picks. So best players for points, and these are ranked. Number 1, Tyler Seguin. We talked about why. Number 2, Mason Marchment. Obviously, yeah, like I said, 8 points in 5 games. This guy's on a heater. The metrics don't really look awesome, but who the hell cares when you're popping off, right? And that line does look awesome. Marco Rossi at number 3. I agree with that. Like this is the guy whose power play 1 spot is probably the safest, and he's top 6 there in Minnesota, and that's not going anywhere. So yeah, Marco Rossi. Next up would be Sean Couturier. Makes sense to me. Joel Farabee after that. That's the order I would have it in as well. And then Nate's got Wyatt Johnston here at number 6, and then Thomas Harley at number 7. I'd probably switch that around. I think Harley getting that power play 1 access is going to be a little bit more valuable than Wyatt Johnston there on power play 2 with his limited minutes on line 3 as well. But that's my 2 cents. Number 8, Brock Faber. Number 9, Marcus Johansson. I think Nate would probably bounce him if he, you know, I don't know if he knew that Matt Zuccarello was coming back. So, you know, but you got Marcus Johansson there and Ryan Hartman as well, rounding out the top 10. Those are the best players to stream for points. Let's talk about the best for hits. Ranked by Nate. All right. Number 1, that Viking, that freaking unit, Yanni Hakanpää. Yeah. This guy's a beast. He's a super beefer. I love that. Number 2, Nicholas Delorier. Yeah, he does that. Number 3, biggest dingus in the league, giggity, Garnett Hathaway. Well done to you, my man. Number 4, Zach Bogosian. Yeah, it's a frightening man, Zach Bogosian. You ever get a look at him? I mean, in the nicest way. Shout out to Zach Bogosian. I know he's a big listener to the show. Zach, call me, buddy. All right, let's hook up. And number 5 at mustachioed beauty, Jake Middleton. Great for hits. Those are your top 5 guys for hits. Now we got to talk about the best players for blocks ranked. And number 1 is going to be Nick Seeler. Yeah, he does that. I mean, great at blocking shots. Cam York as well should be on this list. And then Thomas Harley. I might put Thomas Harley a little up here because I think his minutes are going to rise. He's going to be playing a ton of minutes. Yanni Hakanpää is there, and Brock Faber rounds out those 5 defensemen there for blocks. Okay, so those are those are your great streamers if you're stat hunting. And now we got to move on to the best long-term plays moving forward. All right, and let's take a look. So I will give you my list. All right, this is the Blake edition. All right, so long-term plays, these are 50% rostered and under on Yahoo. My number 1 is going to be Quentin Byfield. I think, I'm a big fan of this player. Obviously, Nate's talked about him, and, his role is really secure, and he's just a really dynamic player. I think he's going to have a big second half, and he should be on a roster somewhere. All right, this guy's only 44% rostered. Number 2, how about Ricky Rax? Raquel, yeah. I just love doing that. I put Raquel on here just because of he's line 1, power play 1 right now. And Rust is back, and Raquel is still on the top power play. So I think, with what he's able to bring peripherally, I do believe Raquel is a really valuable player and should be on a roster, right? This guy can help you moving forward. So that's my 2 cents there. Third player, I'm saying Trevor Zegras. He's 46% rostered. It's been a rough go for Zegras for sure, but he's getting minutes. He's a crazy offensive player. He's going to get power play 1. The Ducks eventually will get healthy, and I think Zegras will put it together here. So I definitely think, especially too with the Ducks schedule moving forward, like they have the most off nights moving forward. So Zegras you're going to get him into games. Next player I want to talk about, Josh Norris. He's been stinky lately. Oh man, he's 33% rostered, but I mean the Senators have been brutal. They can't even score anymore now with the new head coach Jacques Martin. At least they were scoring before. Now it's like they're not even scoring. So it's rough stuff. But I do believe in Norris. I like the shot production, the chance production, and he's still on power play 1 there. So that's really the key piece. And then lastly, Nick Schmaltz, 25% rostered. Yeah, you got to have Schmaltz on a team. It's not sexy, right? But this guy just gets it done. And I trust the player, and I think, he could have a big second half as well, kind of similar to what he did last year. So there you go. And then honorable mention, Logan Couture is, he's close to returning, and he's only 36% rostered. So he's going to return to a team on San Jose, where he's going to have to do it all, right? It's going to be, Hurdle and Logan Couture show. That's it, and shout out to Thomas Hurdle as well. He should probably be on a roster as well. So anyways, those are your players 50% and under. Now we got to talk about sub 20% rostered. Sam Bennett Dyson. Yeah, I actually think Sam Bennett is a must add. I don't see why you wouldn't have Sam Bennett on your team currently. I think that, he's only on a 41-point pace, so that's not great, but this is a guy who usually crushes in metrics. There's lots of injuries on the team right now. He's getting opportunity at some point. Like, he's on power play 1 right now with Barkov out. At some point, he's going to make his way onto power play 1 as well. I think they did that last year. So, I don't know why he's rostered so low at this point. I know he's underachieved a little bit, but I do think Sam Bennett needs to be on a roster. And then Jonathan Drouin at 14%. Yeah, we talked about why. And this makes total sense, especially for this week. And rest of season, if he's going to get this kind of deployment, he definitely needs to be on a roster. There you go. Talking next about sub 10% rostered players. We talked about Morgan Geekie already. He's 7%. line one, power play one with Boston. But I also got to shout out the Slinky, Daniel Sprong. He's a metrics wizard, all right? And he's on another heater. I love Daniel Sprong. This guy's a beast. 5 points in the last 5 games. Check this out. On the season, he is 31st overall in shots on goal per 60, 20th overall in individual Corsi for per 60, and 21st in individual scoring chances for per 60. 13 minutes average time on ice. What are they doing to the Slinky? Get this man on the ice. Give him 20 minutes immediately. All right. Oh, God, that'll never happen. But I do love me some Daniel Sprong. He's a really good player. I doubt he'll ever get the ice time needed to truly pop. But this guy's a great streamer if, Detroit has a good schedule. And in a deep league, get him on your roster. He's a really sneaky play for points. All right. Those are your forwards. Let's talk about long-term plays on defense. First guy, I got to talk about the Power Glove, Owen Power. I really believe that I believe in this player. I think he's really sharp. He gets a ton of deployments. Buffalo is an offensive team, and he's out there with the big boys, right? He's only on a 34-point pace. I think that's a little low for him. I think he's definitely capable of more than that, maybe like a 40 to 45-point pace. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but I do like the player. So shout out to Owen Power. Next on the list would be Brock Faber. We talked about him and kind of his trajectory, right? And I'm not convinced that when Spurgeon comes back, he's just going to walk right back on a power play one, but Faber's obviously going to have to perform in that role. So we'll see what happens. But I like Brock Faber. Third on my list is going to be Torrey Krug. Nate's been talking about Torrey Krug a lot, and I'm listening for sure. I watched the St. Louis Vancouver game the other night, and Krug does look good. He looks really good. He's pumping shots at the net. And he's only 26% rostered. I think that's absolutely reasonable. Krug can help you out moving forward. Number 4, Noah Hanifin. He's 42% rostered. He's not power play one anymore. They got Rasmus Anderson pulling that duty. But Hanifin's, it's not a sexy pick. Like we're talking about defensemen here, and this does get a little slim here. But Hanifin should probably be on a roster, especially because Calgary is picking up their play, and this guy could run into some points. And then lastly, we do have Jake Wallman on here. And yeah, he's just doing it. It's bizarre. 3 goals and an assist in the last 5 games. This guy's going to get double-digit goals. He's like a Thomas Harley, basically, only he doesn't get any power play time. So I do like Jake Wallman, and I think he should probably be on our roster. Sub 20%, we're looking at Jamie Drysdale. He's at 18%. And he's heading up Anaheim's power play there, power play 1. And he's looked good doing it. I think that's a reasonable roster to player there. Sub 10%, we're looking at Shimon Nemec. He's 7% rostered. Got a goal and assist tonight in the New Jersey game, so that's excellent. Under 20 minutes of ice time, though, so I don't like that. And then Damon Severson, he's only 2% rostered. But like I said, he is playing power play 1 over Provorov currently. So there you go. And then let's move into goalies here. We're looking at 0G territory. Long-term plays for goalies. This is a cheeky one, but Devin Levi is 50% rostered right now. And, I know the numbers haven't been great. He is coming off a really nice win where he looked good. I trust the player. And I think at this point of the season, now that they've sent Eric Comrie away, I think it's going to be Levi who runs the show, not UPL. So, you're looking at a bona fide number 1 starter for a team that it's not a great defensive environment, but they're figuring some stuff out. Their offense is going at least currently. So I think Levi should be owned a hell of a lot more than 50%. I picked him up in a league where he was dropped. And I got that win. And I was happy with that. Next up would be Alex Lyon. He's 33% rostered for Detroit. Detroit's getting caved in a little bit with their defensive system, but Lyon's a good goalie. So he can get you some saves, maybe some save percentage. John Gibson is out there as well. He's 47% rostered, but Lucas Dostal played amazing the other night. So we'll see. I don't know. John Gibson, we know what he is. We know what he does. Don't expect the world. And then Elvis Merzlikins as well is still out there, 28% rostered. It is what it is too. Columbus is a horrible environment for goalies, but Merzlikins is actually playing well this season. So, he can get you some stuff what you need, but I definitely like Levi there of those players. Sub 25% rostered. We're looking at Nico Dawes. He's only 16% rostered. Vanacek got a start the other night. Didn't play amazing. I think the the runway is clear for Dawes. I think if he comes in and keeps playing well, he might be able to take that spot. And the same can be said for the second player on our list here, Alex Nedeljkovic. Yeah, he's 22% rostered for the Penguins, and he's been outplaying Tristan Jarry, pure and simple. So, except the other night when he let in 5 goals against Boston, but whatever. They got the dub. But yeah, I think both those goalies are definitely viable, and I have them both in a bunch of spots. So there you go. All right, we're coming to the end of it here, folks. Thanks for sticking with me. I got to talk about the head-to-head streamer deathmatch that Nate and I were going at each other here. Yeah, I'm finally back. I feel like I'm going to take the dub here. This week, Nate had Dylan Strome. He did get a goal tonight, but I picked the Blake the Snake Coleman, and this guy is popping the hell off. Had a goal and assist the other night. So there you go. I'm ahead of Nate currently. They both have some games left. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm excited to get a dub back because Nate's pulled back up to it's 6-5 for me. 6 wins and 5 losses. So yeah, we'll see. I need to beat Nate here. It's all I care about in the world. All right. We do have to make our picks for week 14, and it is Nate's week to pick. He's kindly put in his pick, and he's taken Tyler Seguin. That beauty we talked about, Tyler Seguin, and what he's bringing to the table. So there you go. For my pick, I'm going to take Alexis Lafreniere. All right, I'm going off the board. I'm going to see what this man can do. I love the deployment. I love his access to Panarin, and he's getting some power play time as well. So we'll see. We'll see. I feel good about the pick, but that's it, everybody. One thing I got to do before I get out of here, definitely want to give a shout out to 18 Skaters, Mark Barber. He puts out these amazing daily summaries, just talking about all these advanced statistics that we're talking about. Shots on goal per 60, Corsi 4, Cats League stuff. He releases it every day on the Apples and Ginos website, as well as Nate and myself usually try and retweet them out. So you can follow any of us or follow Mark Barber himself at 18 Skaters. Check him out. This stuff is great. You just read it first thing in the morning, and it just kind of primes you for the day of fantasy hockey. So the man's doing amazing work. So I got to do that. I also want to shout out the Apples and Ginos Patreon. You got to check this out. For a small monthly fee, you can get Nate to actually look at your fantasy hockey rosters, make recommendations. You can have one-on-one talks with him at certain tiers. So definitely want to shout out the Patreon. Get your biscuits in there. That's how I started with Nate. Actually, I was a patron. All right. And now I get it for free. It's totally worth it. And lastly, if I could be a pain and bug you to head on over and give the pod a rating, that would be amazing. Rating the pod is one of probably the biggest thing you can do to give us a hand at getting this out to other people. So rate the pod, please. Leave a review if you like what you hear. We'd love to hear that. But that's it, everybody. That is it for the show. Really enjoyed doing this. It is weird to do it on my own, but that's fine. That's all we got for this episode. So hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get just a little bit better at fantasy hockey. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource, as you may know. All right. Many thanks to the band There for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Celebrate your day. Bye for now.